I looked toward the nomads for help, but they only backed away from me. The black cloaks got closer to the camp, brandished their blades as they joined the nomads.
We are the Global Occult Coalition, protectors of the human race. Inhumans like you must be exterminated to protect our purity. Nothing personal. This is purely business. Now perish.
I laughed. The black cloaks and the nomads joined forces and rushed upon me. My fury had me completely surrendering my mind to the curse, and in return, I was granted the strength and tenacity to clash against them head-on. A bloody fight ensued, and the camp was torn apart. I killed them all.
The alarm went off in Site 17. An anomaly had breached containment.
Warning, code red. A specimen has breached containment. No life signal detected at cell 343.
Security rushed into the cell, armed and ready, only to find the door locked, with no signs of forced entry or exit. Everything appeared to be in order. However, the former resident of cell 343 was nowhere to be found. All that was left behind was a document, a dossier on SCP-343, God. It was altered, however. God was no longer a safe class object. It became Keter. It was now uncontained. And as for its description,
my friends, it is high time that I leave you. I must be moving on. Thank you greatly for your hospitality during my time of need. However, it is no longer safe here, and while this is no fault of yours, I cannot in good conscience allow myself to remain. I have taxed your kindness enough. While it cannot repay what you have done for me, in return for your kindness, I will tell you a story.
Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you a tale from the SCP Foundation.
The story begins with a poor boy of Prague, born many long years ago to a poor mother and a poor father. Life was hard. It often is in such stories. There was little food to be had and too many mouths to feed. My mother made little coins as a seamstress. My father worked in the factory. He was not an unkind man, but he did spend much of his meager earnings on various vices that poisoned his mind. This was when I first learned of what I could do. My father returned home late one night, far more furious than he had been before. He was raging and cursing about, maddened with the dissatisfactions of his life, I suppose. My mother tried to calm him down, but his slurring became angrier and angrier in argument, and eventually he struck her. I opened my room door just a tiny slit to peek through. My mother screamed, so I immediately rushed out of my room and screamed at him. "Stop," I said, and he did. He stopped like a statue. He was frozen in place. Not even the folds of his clothing would be moved. His face was twisted in his blinding rage, but his eyes were different. There was no more anger there, only fear. In that moment, I saw in my father's eyes a man who was looking into his own damnation. And though they did not move, I knew he could see me. Somehow I knew that I had not killed my father. I had done something far, far worse. In later years, I've performed similar miracles, or rather curses, on certain unsavory people who had wronged me later on, to teach them a lesson. I released them after a fortnight. Soon as they started to move, They threw up everything they didn't eat. I could only imagine the depth of my powers. But I digress. I turned to my mother. She looked at me as if she was scared of me. Mother? She backed away when I took a step towards her. I felt shunned by the only safe haven from my father's rage. It broke me. And so I ran, leaving my mother and petrified father behind. To this day, I do not know what happened to them. I pray they were spared what came to follow me. Years passed. I begged and stole and clawed my way across Europe without direction, half feral and the other half mad. My curse was no longer content with simply leaking out with my words. It lashed out on its own, wild and deadly. I gave in to its call to violence and took the lives of a baker and a shopkeeper who recognized me. The men had observed me for days. One day, they had me surrounded, dragged me into an alley. They called me names and beat me mercilessly. I had no choice but to return the courtesy fatally. Death followed me wherever I went. Every little thing irritated me, and I would not hesitate to abuse my power on innocent people. I behaved like a wild animal, and was treated like one too. I began to speak less and less, and started to growl and behaved in a beastly manner. I was slowly losing my own humanity. And soon, I began to attract unwanted attention. It was a group of wandering nomads who had found me first, when I was passed out one day from sheer hunger. When I woke up, I had become so unused to speaking with human beings that I could do nothing but croak like a frog for days. Eventually, I could whisper, but they did not understand me, nor I them. But they did feed me, and I watched them as they practiced their arts. They did not seem to fear me. Here, I thought, here is where I may learn to control the curse. I never spoke to them about it, but after living with them for a few days, I felt that I could trust them. Then came the most important, painful lesson in life. The world is cruel, and trust is an unsafe virtue. The nomads dropped their friendly facade, and men in black cloaks emerged from afar. They approached the camp and had me surrounded. I looked toward the nomads for help, but they only backed away from me. The black cloaks got closer to the camp, brandished their blades as they joined the nomads.
We are the Global Occult Coalition, protectors of the human race. Inhumans like you must be exterminated to protect our purity. Nothing personal. This is purely business. Now perish.
I laughed. The black cloaks and the nomads joined forces and rushed upon me. My fury had me completely surrendering my mind to the curse. And in return, I was granted the strength and tenacity to clash against them head-on. A bloody fight ensued, and the camp was torn apart. I killed them all, except for one. You go back to your little band of human lovers and tell them you cannot kill me. For I am God, I said, and watched him flee like a coward. For a little while, I reveled in the death around me. The bodies of the nomads and the black cloaks reminded me of what I'm capable of. The world is a cruel place, indifferent to a man's suffering, and so I must transcend beyond man and become God. In the following days, they had found me. I was dangerous, and they would stop at nothing to possess me. I fled, and I learned. I taught myself. My curse became more of a blessing. I lived in a secret little war, and as I fought, I learned more and more. How to take the shape of another. How to make a mouthful of bread or a handful of water. The black cloaks returned time after time. It seemed they were comprised of people from different nations. The British, the French, the Prussians, some of my own empire, members of the church, and even an American. They hunted me, and in return, I hunted them. More years passed, though I barely noticed. I existed as the faceless man walking down the street, seen once and forgotten forever. I was convinced that I had moved past, beyond man's values. I became amoral. My power was simply a tool at my disposal for my own survival. I picked up languages, identities, scraps of knowledge that would aid me, weapons and defenses against my enemies. I would practice my arts in the dark, honed my power to its fullest. But as things happen, my enemies had learned as well, and they had learned better than me. After all, the road to godhood was not without its challenges. I was ambushed. My guard was down, and they sprung. They had me surrounded like a cornered animal. They had ways to prevent me from healing myself, ways to prevent me from escaping, weapons that could hurt me. They drove at me, raising my hiding places and piercing my disguises. My mind, fragile as it was from years of animalistic existence, began to unravel. Great many died by my hand, and all along I felt myself slipping away further from godhood. They drove me across bloody fields, to Paris, down deep into the bowels of that city where the dead digested in their holy peace. It was in those catacombs where I had an epiphany, a transformation. I became a god in a dark, slimy hole, weakened and half dead. My apotheosis was witnessed by the empty sockets of 1,000 skulls. It was also at that moment I felt human. All these battles, the savagery, began to seem pointless. I returned to the surface. Even though the global occult coalition was waiting for my return, the fight was over before it had begun. A god has no reason to fear a man, and he likewise need not bother engaging them. They merely needed to be waved away. And so I did. Then I left. For the first time in decades, they did not follow. For the first time in decades, I let out a breath of relief. Peace then, for the first time since I had last heard my mother's song at night. In time, I suppose, I forgot about the black cloaks, though they did not forget about me, mind you. A god's sin is pride, and I had it in full. I was certain they had thought me dead and had given up the hunt. but they never did. God though I was, I could not see all. I could not do all. They had ways to fight back, as they always had. I fled once more. Then, I was approached by your kind. Being approached by well-mannered gentlemen had taught me of nothing but deception and trickery.
We are from the Foundation, an organization that secures, contains, and protects anomalies like you.
How do I know if you speak the truth?
After all you've been through, you have no reason to trust us. I understand that. We've gathered intelligence about you, as well as your clashes with the Global Occult Coalition. We're not like them. We simply wish to talk to you.
I listened to the man's gentle words and followed him to an establishment not far away. It was then I made my place among you. I found my purpose in the Foundation, a life worth living, even though I was technically in your captivity. I've seen people come and go during my time here, odd personalities and dangerous anomalies. Memories I shan't forget until my next life. But now, it is time for me to leave. I know that you will seek me out, but know this. Just how much do you think you know about me? I've spent my time playing card tricks and telling stories. Could it all simply be a ruse? All to make you believe that my power was infinite, that you would not dare cross me lest I destroy you. You were never in my power, but I in yours. With you, I was safe, a god in his holy place. I had hoped that I would ride out the storm, that those who sought to destroy me would eventually give up, but recently I began to feel their presence in the world. Their powers are growing stronger day by day, and I suspect that their hunt for me never stopped. And you would eventually have to turn me over. And so I must leave you. Thank you for the kindness you have shown me. I can only hope that this story may lighten your hearts. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Have a favorite SCP you want to see on this channel? Leave us your suggestions in the comments down below. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more SCP content, then check out some of our other videos right here. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.